Hey, this is Presh Telwalker. I received this question from Tim in Singapore. It was given to 10-year-olds who had not yet studied algebra. I slightly edited the problem for clarity. The total amount of sand contained in boxes A, B, and C is 360 grams. Each box starts with some unknown amount of sand, and a mathematician decides to play with the sand. First, the mathematician pours 1/6 of the sand from box A into box B. After that, the mathematician pours 1/3 of the sand in box B into box C. Finally, the mathematician pours 1/5 of the sand in box C into box A. At the end, each box has an equal amount of sand. How much sand did each box have at the beginning? Now remember, this was given to 10-year-olds who had not yet studied algebra, so you should try to solve this problem without using a system of simultaneous equations. Can you figure it out? Give this problem a try, and when you're ready, keep watching the video for a solution. So the way I solve this problem is to work backwards. We'll create a table with the amounts in each box, and we'll let the amounts be in grams, so we can drop the units and just focus on the numbers. So by working backwards, that means to start at the very end. How much sand is in each box at the very end? The problem tells us each box has an equal amount of sand at the end, and the total amount of sand is 360 grams. So at the very end, each box has 360 divided by 3, which is 120 grams. So we can fill in these amounts in the table. Now let's go one step backwards. How much is in each box before the step where box C gets poured into box A? Well, the mathematician pours 1/5 of box C into box A. So if box C minus 1/5 of itself equals 120, then box C must have had 120 times 5/4, which equals 150 before the sand was poured out. We can see this by a little bit of algebra. If we have box C times 1 minus 1/5, that's equal to 120. That means box C times 4/5 is equal to 120. So we take the reciprocal of 4/5, which will be 5/4. Therefore, box C started with 120 times 5/4, which equals 150. So we can say that box C had 150. Now, since 150 minus 120 is equal to 30, that's how much was poured from C to A, we can deduce box A must have had 30 fewer grams before this step. 120 minus 30, which equals 90. Furthermore, pouring from box C to box A leaves box B unaffected, so box B remained at 120. Now, let's go one more step backwards. What happened before box B was poured into box C? If box B minus 1/3 of itself equals 120, then box B had 120 times 3/2, which equals 180 before this step. Furthermore, since this step transferred 60 grams from B to C, we know that box C had 60 fewer grams, or 150 minus 60, which equals 90 before this step. And box A was unaffected in this step, so it remained at 90. Now we go back to the beginning. What happened before box A was poured into box B? Well, if box A minus 1/6 of itself equals 90, then box A had 90 times 6/5, which equals 108 before the sand was poured out. Furthermore, we see that 18 grams was transferred from A to B. Therefore, box B must have started with 180 minus 18, which equals 162. Box C was unaffected in this step, so it remained at 90. And there you go. These are the starting amounts. Box A had 108, box B had 162, and box C had 90 grams. So it's a fairly challenging problem to ask of 10-year-olds, but it can be solved with logical considerations and by working backwards. Did you figure it out? Thanks for watching this video. Please subscribe to my channel. I make videos on math. You can catch me on my blog, Mind Your Decisions. If you like this video, you can check out my books, which are listed in the video description, and you can support me on Patreon. If you have a math topic, you can email me, presh@mindyourdecisions.com, and you can catch me on social media, either at Mind Your Decisions or at Presh Talwalkar.